The vast halls of the Galactic Empire stretched with cold steel and banners of conquest. Alien leaders gathered under the golden throne where the Emperor sat with a crown of firestones. His voice echoed through the chamber. Another world bends to us. Another people surrender, but one remains. The planet called Earth. His lips curled in disdain. They have not answered, they will answer soon. For no world resists us, the court erupted in laughter. Their voices sharp and mocking. One officer leaned toward another and whispered, "Humans are stubborn but weak. They will bow when the fleet arrives." "They always do," another replied. "They will kneel in silence. They will beg for mercy." Their words fed the pride of the Empire. But in the shadows of the chamber, a scout officer shifted uncomfortably. His scales trembled as he raised his voice. "My Emperor, forgive me, but the silence of Earth troubles me. Every other world has begged before our message. Humans do not beg, they say nothing." The court turned to him, some sneering, others frowning. The Emperor's eyes narrowed, a deep red glow shining from them. "Do you suggest that humans resist?" His voice was cold and sharp. The scout bowed quickly. "No, my Emperor. I only warn that silence can mean preparation." But the Emperor waved his hand. "Enough. They are nothing. Their silence means fear, not strength. Tomorrow they will kneel, far from the throne world. Across the endless void, Earth sat in quiet darkness. Cities lit with hidden power, underground bunkers thrummed with energy. In one of those bunkers, a group of commanders gathered around a glowing table, their faces calm but their eyes sharp. "The Empire thinks we are broken," one said, his voice steady. "They expect us to bow tomorrow," another answered. "Let them expect we have built in silence. We have prepared in secret. They will find not submission, but fire." Soldiers stood in ranks, their armor black and polished, weapons clutched tight. Young voices whispered to each other, "Do you think we can win?" One asked nervously, another smiled. "We do not need to win all. We only need to make them bleed. And the galaxy will see." A silence spread over the bunker, the silence of courage. Meanwhile, in orbit above the throne world, the Empire's fleets gathered. Massive ships of silver steel, their cannons like mountains, their crews confident and arrogant. One commander laughed as he raised his cup. "Tomorrow we will see Earth kneel before the Emperor. It will be a ceremony of obedience," another added. "I heard humans once resisted, but that was centuries ago. They are dust now." Their voices were filled with pride. Blind to the storm waiting back on Earth, in a dim chamber deep under the oceans, engineers worked around engines the size of towers, screens lit with symbols of hidden fleets. One engineer wiped the sweat from his forehead. "Are they ready?" he asked. Another nodded. "Every ship waits in silence, cloaked in shadows. When the order comes, they will rise." A third leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Do you think the Empire suspects?" The answer was short. "No, they laugh, and their laughter blinds them." Night spread across Earth. Cities quiet, families gathered, some fearful, some proud. A mother held her child and whispered, "Tomorrow the Empire comes, but remember, we are not weak. We are human." The child nodded, his small hand gripping hers tightly. In another corner of the world, a soldier looked up at the stars, whispering, "They think we are silent because of fear. They will learn it is the silence of hunters before the strike." In the Empire's palace, the Emperor rose from his throne, his voice booming, "Tomorrow, Earth submits. Tomorrow their leaders bow at our feet. Tomorrow we remind the galaxy that no one resists us." Cheers filled the hall. But outside the palace walls, whispers spread among slaves and broken peoples. Whispers of Earth's silence. Whispers of hope. The night stretched thin. Time heavy with tension. On Earth the bunkers glowed brighter. Ships hidden under ice sheets and in hollowed asteroids hummed with life. Pilots strapped into cockpits, their hands steady, their hearts burning. One whispered into his helmet, "For Earth, for freedom." His words echoed across channels. Carried by thousands, above the throne world the fleets celebrated, unaware that across the stars a new dawn waited. They dreamed of submission. But when morning came, the galaxy would wake to something else. The silence of Earth would break, and the sound would be warships at their gates. The Empire expected obedience, but the stage was set for defiance, and the galaxy was about to change forever. Whispers spread across the galaxy like fire in dry grass. Traders at border stations spoke in low voices. "Have you heard of Earth? They say the humans are quiet, but their silence is not weakness." One alien trader shook his head nervously. "I passed a system near their border. Outposts that used to be filled with traffic were empty. No signs of life, but there were scars on the moons. Scars that looked like weapon tests." His words sent shivers through the room. In a shadowed cantina on a distant mining colony, smugglers gathered over broken tables, their voices sharp and urgent. "A convoy disappeared near the Terran line," one whispered. "Not pirates, not storms, something else. The escorts said they saw shapes in the dark before the signal went dead." Another leaned closer. "Shapes?" The smuggler nodded. "Warships black as the void, moving without sound, on the throne world." Reports trickled into the hands of the Imperial Council. Officers argued over the meaning. "These are only rumors," one barked. "The humans cannot build warships like this. They are too primitive," another officer frowned. "But too many whispers spread at once. Too many traders speak of missing fleets. Could silence hide more than fear?" His words were met with laughter. The Emperor sat still on his throne, his face unreadable, his voice deep and cold. "Humans are ants, nothing more. Let them play with shadows. When the fleet arrives, they will bend. Rumors are smoke, and smoke cannot stop fire." His words silenced the chamber, but not the doubt burning in the eyes of a few. Far from the Empire's prideful capital, in a system of dying suns, a human fleet floated hidden in the shadows of a gas giant. Warships massive and silent, hulls black and sharp, engines cold to avoid detection inside the command ship. Voices whispered in the dim glow of red light. "The Empire waits for our submission, but they do not see us here. They do not know we breathe fire in silence." A young officer stared at the fleet on the screen, his voice trembling. "Will we strike first?" The commander's eyes were steady. "No, we let them come. Arrogance blinds them. We wait until their pride brings them to our gates." Silence filled the chamber, heavy but sharp, like the calm before a storm across the galaxy. Imperial scouts searched for signs of rebellion. One ship drifted near an asteroid field close to human space. Sensors hummed, the pilot frowned. Strange readings. Energy spikes deep inside the rocks. His co-pilot leaned closer. "Could be mining." The pilot shook his head. "No, this is different," before he could finish. The stars lit with fire. Hidden cannons from the asteroids burst alive. The scout ship screamed, then silence. The Empire never received their last message. In slave camps across the galaxy, whispers grew louder. "The humans are not weak. They are preparing," one alien worker whispered to another under the watchful eyes of guards. "If they rise, maybe we can too." Hope flickered where there had only been fear. The name of Earth became a secret prayer on the lips of the broken. Inside the Imperial fleet, confidence remained unshaken. Officers planned the ceremony of Earth's submission. "It will be glorious," one laughed. "We will stream their surrender across the stars. Let every world see their fear," another added. "After that, no world will dare resist again." But a junior officer dared to speak. "What if they do not submit?" Silence struck the room before laughter burst again. "Then they are destroyed." Nothing more. On Earth, deep underground, a hidden council gathered, their faces lit by flickering screens. "The Empire believes they know us," one said, his voice calm but sharp. "They think humans are broken, fragile, afraid." Another leaned forward. "But fear does not rule us. Silence is our shield. And when the shield breaks, the sword strikes." Outside, storms raged over oceans, waves crashing against coasts as if echoing the tension of the world. Night fell heavy on Earth, but the stars above carried secrets. Fleets hidden in dark stations, weapons humming with quiet power. Soldiers trained in secret halls, their voices whispering oaths of defiance. One soldier whispered to another, "They think tomorrow we bow, but tomorrow they bleed." His words were soft but carried the weight of millions. In the depths of space, far from human eyes, the Empire's admirals raised their glasses. Blind to the gathering storm, their ships gleamed with power. But power without caution is fragile. Pride without fear is dangerous, as the galaxy turned slowly toward dawn. Whispers became warnings, warnings became dread, and dread turned into silence, the silence before fire. The humans waited, their warships hidden. Their silence unbroken, the Empire laughed. But laughter cannot last forever. Tomorrow, the galaxy would learn that silence is not surrender. Silence is the promise of war, and war was coming to the gates of the Empire. The night before the ceremony of submission arrived, the Empire's fleets hung in orbit near the border of human space. Massive warships glowing with pride, their silver hulls reflecting the light of nearby suns. Inside the command decks, laughter and arrogance filled the air. An officer lifted his glass. Tomorrow, the humans kneel before the Emperor. Another officer smirked. They will bring their leaders in chains, and we will broadcast their surrender across the galaxy. Cheers echoed through the halls of steel. But not every officer shared the same blind pride. In one corner, a younger lieutenant whispered, "What if the humans do not come?" His superior glared, "They will come, do not insult the might of the Empire." The young officer lowered his eyes, but inside unease twisted in his chest. On Earth, far below the oceans, the mood was different. The night was heavy and tense, in bunkers buried deep. Lights glowed faintly across long tables, filled with maps and screens. Commanders stood in silence until one spoke. "Tomorrow the Empire expects us to kneel, but we will not kneel." His voice was calm yet sharp. "We will answer their demand with fire." A young soldier, standing near the wall, shifted nervously. His fingers tapped against his rifle. "Do we truly stand a chance?" he asked. Another soldier smiled faintly. "We stand because we must, even if the galaxy forgets us. We remember who we are." The commander looked across the room, his eyes burning. "Courage is not the absence of fear. It is standing when fear wants us to bow." Families across Earth gathered quietly. In one small home, a mother sat with her children, the glow of the city dim behind the window. "Tomorrow the Empire will arrive," she whispered. "They believe we are weak. But remember this. Humans do not kneel. We endure, we fight, we rise." The child clutched her hand tighter, whispering, "Will we be safe?" She kissed his forehead. "If we are brave." Yes, in the Imperial fleet celebrations continued. Officers feasted while the crews prepared for morning. Songs of conquest rose in the air, but far away. A small Imperial scout ship patrolled near a silent asteroid field. The pilot frowned. "Strange signals," he muttered. His co-pilot asked, "What kind?" The pilot's eyes narrowed, too organized to be random, like beacons, before he could investigate further. Shadows shifted in the rocks, and the ship vanished from the network. Its signal cut off forever. Meanwhile, hidden human fleets floated in darkness, their engines silent, their weapons asleep. Inside one command ship, a captain stood at the viewport, stars stretching endlessly beyond. A young officer asked, "Do we strike tonight?" The captain shook his head. "No patience. Let them believe in their arrogance one more night. Tomorrow we break their pride." Silence filled the deck, but it was a silence that burned with power. Across enslaved worlds, whispers of Earth spread. In camps where chains rattled under alien guards, prisoners spoke softly. "Tomorrow they say Earth surrenders." "But I heard humans are planning something." Another prisoner lifted his head, his eyes wide. "If humans rise, maybe all of us can rise." The guards silenced them with whips, but the seed of hope had already been planted. On the throne world of the Empire, the Emperor stood at his balcony, the stars above glimmering like scattered jewels. His advisors bowed low. "My Emperor, tomorrow the humans submit. It will be a glorious day." The Emperor's lips curled in a thin smile. "Yes, they will kneel, and the galaxy will see that resistance is a dream. Dreams break before the Empire." His words rang with confidence. Yet in the silence after, even he glanced at the stars as if listening for something. Back on Earth, the final preparations continued. Deep in a hidden facility, soldiers stood ready. Rows of black-armored figures lined like statues, their helmets hiding steady faces. An officer walked past them, his voice carried low. Tomorrow is not about survival alone. Tomorrow is about showing the galaxy we will not break if we fall. We fall as fire. The soldiers raised their weapons in silent salute. As midnight passed, the Empire's fleets drifted in calm orbit. Unaware of the storm waiting in the shadows, the night stretched long, filled with the weight of history pressing against the hearts of both sides. One empire blinded by pride, one world sharpened by silence. A soldier on Earth looked up at the night sky, his voice soft but unshaken. "They think silence is surrender," he whispered. "Tomorrow they will hear what silence truly means." His words carried into the darkness. A promise, a warning. When dawn arrived, the galaxy would change. The Empire waited for submission. But the humans had prepared defiance, and the night before would be remembered not for fear, but for the final calm before thunder. The day of submission dawned cold and silent across the galaxy. The Empire's fleets hung above the border of human space like silver predators, their cannons glowing faintly, banners of conquest flashing across their screens. Inside the command ships, the officers stood proud, voices echoing with arrogance. "Today we break the humans," one declared. "Today they kneel before the Emperor." Another laughed. "The galaxy will watch them bow, and their silence will finally mean defeat." On the surface of Earth, deep inside hidden bunkers, silence reigned too. But it was a different silence. Not fear, but focus. Soldiers stood ready. Armor black as night, weapons charged, screens flickered with the faces of commanders. "This is the moment," one said firmly. "They expect submission. But they will find resistance." His eyes narrowed. "They believe we are weak. But today, the galaxy learns what silence was hiding." In orbit, the largest Imperial warship prepared the official broadcast. Cameras ready to capture Earth's leaders bowing. An officer adjusted his uniform, smiling. "The Emperor will be pleased. This will be the greatest ceremony of his reign." He looked at the stars, unaware of the shadows moving there, far beyond sight, hidden in the darkness of asteroids and hollowed moons. Human fleets stirred, engines flared quietly. Black ships drifted out of hiding, their hulls like knives against the void. Inside one command ship, a captain whispered to his crew, "Wait for the signal." "Not yet, Patience." The broadcast began. The Imperial commander raised his voice across all channels. "People of Earth, the time has come. Kneel before the Empire, swear loyalty and live. Resist and be erased." His words rolled like thunder. The galaxy listened. Enslaved worlds held their breath, waiting to hear Earth's answer, but Earth did not answer. The silence stretched long, seconds turning heavy. Officers in the fleet smirked. "See, they are afraid. They cannot even speak," one laughed. "Weak creatures. It is finished." Yet in that silence something stirred, a tremor in the stars. Without warning, the void cracked with light. Dozens of human warships burst from shadow, engines blazing, weapons glowing. Black hulls reflecting no sun, only fire. One officer on the Imperial flagship shouted, "Contacts!" Hundreds of them. Chaos erupted, alarms blared, commanders barked orders. Impossible! Where did they come from? The first strike fell swift. Beams of light tore through an Imperial cruiser, its hull split like paper. Explosions lit the void. Human ships moved fast, sharper and quicker than anything the Empire expected. They struck in perfect rhythm, vanishing back into shadows before counterfire could lock inside the human command ship. Voices were steady, not panicked. "Target confirmed. Strike again," one officer said calmly. The captain leaned forward. "Let them know Earth does not kneel." Another volley roared into the fleet. Another Imperial ship fell. On the Imperial flagship, chaos spread. Officers shouted. They were supposed to be weak. They were supposed to submit. One slammed his fist. "Fight back! All ships return fire!" Cannons lit the darkness, but their beams struck only empty space. The human ships danced like predators, circling, striking, fading across the galaxy. Enslaved worlds watched the broadcast in shock. Instead of Earth bowing, they saw Imperial ships burning. Alien workers whispered to each other, "They fight, the humans fight. They do not kneel." Hope sparked like fire among the broken. On Earth, families huddled in silence, screens flickering with the battle above. A child clutched his mother's hand. "Are we winning?" he asked. Her eyes shone. "We are standing. That is enough. We are standing." The Emperor himself watched from his throne, his face dark with fury. "Warships," he growled. "They had warships, hidden under our noses." His advisors trembled. "My Emperor, they cannot hold against your fleets forever." But doubt twisted their voices. The battle raged on, Imperial ships falling one after another. Human tactics sharp and merciless. Silence had not been surrender. It had been preparation, patience, a blade waiting to be drawn. The Empire's pride cracked with every explosion. On the flagship's deck, the young lieutenant who had doubted before whispered, "The humans were silent, not afraid. We were blind." His superior glared, but said nothing. The truth burned too bright in front of them. The first strike ended with wreckage drifting across the void. Dozens of Imperial ships destroyed, more damaged. The humans pulled back into darkness, their fleets vanishing like ghosts. The battle was not over. But the message was clear. Earth did not bow. In bunkers across Earth, cheers erupted. Commanders raised their fists. They thought silence was weakness. Now they know it was the calm before war. One soldier shouted, "We bleed them and the galaxy will see. No one stands alone." The Empire expected submission, but what they faced was fire. The first strike was not the end, it was the beginning. And the galaxy would never be the same again. Smoke still drifted through the void where Imperial ships had burned, and the proud fleet that once moved like a single iron wave now floated in broken clusters. Crews whispering instead of shouting, eyes wide instead of fearless. The silence after the first strike was not peace, it was fear taking shape. On the flagship, the Admiral paced with a stiff jaw, screens showing wreckage and failing beacons. "Status," he demanded. A chorus of shaken voices replied, "Multiple cruisers lost. Escorts gone, command relays cut, long-range arrays blind." The young lieutenant who had doubted before spoke softly. "Sir, they hit us where we never looked. They moved in the dark like they owned it." The Admiral slammed a fist on the rail. "We are the Empire. We own everything." But the words sounded thin. Like metal under strain, across the fleet, discipline wavered. A captain whispered to his second, "Did you see them vanish and appear again? Like knives in water?" The second nodded. "They struck the joints, the eyes, the throat." A tech at the station swallowed hard. "Their weapons were quiet until they were not. We never saw them coming." In mess halls where laughter once flowed, spoons shook in hands that knew pride yesterday and doubt today. The official broadcast, meant to show Earth kneeling, now showed the Empire bleeding. Every enslaved world saw it. In mines and camps and crowded dorms, chained people stared at screens in stunned silence. Then the whisper rose. "They stand," a thin worker with scarred wrists breathed. "The humans stand," a guard barked for quiet, but his own eyes had changed. Because he had watched the Empire lose something it never expected to lose. Certainty. In the Emperor's court, the air felt colder. Advisors bowed and spoke in careful tones. "We should reinforce. We should call the reserve legions. We should tighten the border. We should block every channel that carries these images." The Emperor's eyes burned. "Do it all," he said, "and find me a victory to replace these ashes." When the advisors left, he looked toward the window at the bright line of the palace shield. His reflection flickered in the glass like a ghost. Back on Earth, the mood was steady, not wild, not careless. Commanders leaned over dark tables as feeds scrolled with data. "We struck and pulled back," one said. "They will try to crawl into a shell," another nodded. "They will scream strength and bleed in private." A pilot removed her helmet and exhaled. "They thought we were weak, but we cut where it hurts." The room did not cheer. It simply breathed together, ready for the next step. In the ruins of a shattered Imperial frigate, a lifeboat drifted inside. A wounded officer stared at the small window. Tremors running through his hands, a voice on the comm whispered, "Recovery teams en route," he whispered back. They were silent, and then the sky fell. His mind replayed the moment the human ship slid from shadow. Not as a rumor or a myth, but real steel and fire. He had laughed at stories in canteens. He would never laugh at silence again. The Empire rushed to explain the defeat. The Ministry of Triumph broadcast a polished message. Images of shining banners. A calm voice saying, "A minor clash, damage contained, the Empire remains unchallenged." But the galaxy had seen ships break. It had seen flames and distance, and the sudden fear on proud faces. The message did not erase the truth, it sharpened the lie. A courier ship reached a garrison world with emergency orders. Conscripts stood in lines as officers shouted drills that sounded more like prayers. "Form up, hold formation, hold your nerve." A recruit whispered to her friend, "Do you think humans will come here?" The friend stared at the sky. "I think fear already did." When night fell, the barracks stayed awake. Every creak echoed like a footstep far away, at a hidden relay near the border. A human intelligence crew watched Imperial channels. "They are moving reserves to choke points," one analyst said. "And they are silencing independent traders," another added. "Push the recordings, cut their lies with their own images," a third tapped a key. "Begin the soft strike." Across the net, small signals woke up, short files. Snatches of burning ships and shocked voices. These clips slipped through cracks, repeated in markets, passed in private rooms, carried by memory when networks failed. Inside the flagship comm center, a wave of angry reports hit the consoles. Unauthorized footage, subversive content, moral contagion, the chief of communications snarled. "Lock it down." But for every channel they closed, one more whisper found a way, and the whisper carried a face. An Imperial officer staring into a lens as the hull behind him broke into light, a voice saying, "They are not small, they are not weak." Then static, then silence, the kind that makes a heart beat louder. An admiral on a different wing begged for caution. "We cannot pretend this away," he told the council. "We must change tactics, we must learn." A senior lord laughed in his face. "Learn from ants," the admiral's jaw tightened. "Ants in numbers can move mountains." The lord waved a jeweled hand. "Then we will crush their hill. Later." In a quiet corridor, the admiral stood alone, and the ship's hum sounded like a question he could not answer. In a desert mine on a conquered moon, a small act sparked larger ones. A guard looked at the screen of the battle one more time. His grip on the shock baton loosened. A prisoner saw it and straightened his back. The guard did not strike. Not that night. Change can be a roar. But before the roar, it is a breath, a pause, a moment where the world can tilt. Human warships did not return to finish the fleet. They melted into shadow again, choosing not to chase glory, but to build pressure. Hit supply lines, blind sensors, crack morale. A captain explained to her crew, "We do not need to kill them all. We need to break the story inside their heads." A navigator asked. "What story?" The captain looked through the viewport. "The story that they always win." The crew fell silent. The kind of silence that feels like a drawn bow. The Empire tried to pull its borders tight. But borders are not walls in space. They are ideas, and ideas leak. Patrols found empty depots, wrong coordinates, fake distress calls that led into ambushes where no one fired until it was too late. The young lieutenant watched the pattern and whispered, "They are teaching us to fear the dark." His superior said nothing this time, because he felt it too when the lights flickered. On the throne world, crowds gathered in forced rallies. Flags rose, voices shouted oaths, but in the back rows, eyes wandered to the sky. What if those black ships came here? What if silence fell over the palace shields? The Emperor raised his arms. "We are eternal," he declared. The cheers surged like a tide, then rolled back a little too fast, leaving the stone steps wet and shining. A coded transmission reached the Imperial fleet from a source they could not trace. A simple message. No threat, no boast. Only words. "We do not kneel, we do not hunt the weak. We break chains," commanders argued over it. Some said it was human arrogance, others heard something else. A promise that did not sound like conquest. It sounded like a door opening for those who had never seen a door. That night the flagship dimmed its lights to conserve power for damaged grids. In the quiet, crew members lay awake. Hearing the thin creak of the hull, a mechanic whispered to the next bunk, "Do you think we can still win?" The other stared at the dark ceiling. "We can still fight," the mechanic swallowed. "Is that the same as winning?" No answer came. Only the low beat of engines that felt less like thunder and more like breath across the border, far from any eyes. Human engineers tightened bolts and checked seals and tuned drives until they purred like cats in deep sleep. A commander walked the line and spoke softly. "They tremble now, not because we burned their ships, but because we broke their certainty," he paused, letting the words settle. "Tomorrow we strike their map, not their metal." When the second dawn after the first strike arrived, the Empire still stood, banners still flew, drums still boomed. But fear had entered the halls and made a home. Slaves woke with a little more air in their lungs. Officers spoke with a little less iron in their voices. And across the charts, a new symbol appeared beside Imperial worlds. Not captured, not liberated, but changed. The kind of change that begins quiet, then grows teeth. The kind of change that starts as a tremble and becomes a fall. And somewhere in the dark between stars, a human fleet waited without boasting, without noise, only with purpose, and the galaxy leaned in to listen, because even fear wanted to hear what came next. The galaxy held its breath. Rumors of human defiance spread faster than any fleet could travel. In markets, in mines, in the back rooms of smugglers and the halls of enslaved worlds. Whispers grew into voices. The humans fight. The humans strike. The humans do not kneel. The Empire tried to silence it. But words have wings, and the wings carried fire. On the throne world, the Emperor paced in his grand chamber. His advisors bent low. "We must crush them before hope spreads," one urged. "The longer this lingers, the more the galaxy believes," another spoke sharply. "Send the second Armada. Send everything. Erase Earth and their illusions." The Emperor stopped, his voice low and dangerous. "And what if we fail again?" Silence followed. No one dared to answer, for in their hearts they had all felt it. The tremble of doubt in a hidden asteroid dock. Human engineers tightened final bolts on warships that had never seen the light of day. Weapons thrummed, engines pulsed, crews stood ready. A commander walked down the line of soldiers, their helmets gleaming black. His voice was steady. The Empire thought silence meant fear. But silence was our shield, and now the shield has become a sword. Today we move again, not to conquer, but to show the galaxy that chains can break. A soldier raised her weapon and whispered, "For Earth, for freedom, across the stars." Imperial fleets regrouped, their formations tight, their commanders desperate to rebuild pride. One officer barked at his crew, "Hold your line, they are shadows." "But shadows can be burned," a junior officer whispered. "Then why does the dark feel heavier now?" his superior glared. But he had no answer. The humans struck again. Not with a grand assault, but with precision. Convoys vanished, supply lines cracked. Relay stations burned quietly in the night, every time the Empire tried to push back. Their ships found themselves outmaneuvered, tricked, lured into traps. One Imperial captain screamed into the comm, "They know our moves before we make them." "How?" his second replied in a shaking voice, "Because we are loud, and they are silent." In the camps of enslaved worlds, sparks became flames, small uprisings broke out. Guards beaten, chains cut, banners of rebellion painted with stolen blood. Each act traced back to one thought: if Earth can fight, we can too, on one mining moon. Prisoners rose in the night, their leader shouting, "We are not alone, humans, stand." So we stand. The guards fell back, their weapons slipping in hands that no longer believed in eternal rule. Back on Earth, families listened to reports whispered through secure channels. Children asked their parents, "Are we winning?" And the parents answered, "We are standing." And that is stronger than winning in the bunkers. Commanders leaned over their maps, their voices calm. The Empire bleeds in places it cannot hide. We have cracked their image, and once an image cracks, It cannot be repaired on the throne world. The Emperor stood before his generals, his voice sharp. You will strike at their world directly. No more games, no more shadows. Bring me their ashes. The generals bowed, but their eyes betrayed fear. One thought clawed at them. What if Earth was waiting? What if the silence hid more fire? The fleets moved, massive and proud, engines burning. But as they entered human space, something unexpected happened. Beacons lit across dozens of systems. Not human signals alone, but voices of other species. We resist, one message said. We rise, another echoed. Imperial channels jammed with defiance. It was no longer just Earth. The fire had spread. An admiral slammed his fist against his console. Who gave them courage? His officer answered in a whisper. The humans did, as the words left his lips. Sensors flared. Human fleets emerged again. Larger than before, ships once hidden now roaring into light. Surrounding the Imperial Armada, the battle began with thunder, the void exploding with light. Imperial ships fired in desperate fury, but the humans moved with discipline and purpose. They were not reckless. They were precise, cutting engines, shattering formations, striking at pride itself. On one Imperial cruiser, a soldier shouted, "Why do they fight like this?" "They are only one world," his commander answered bitterly. "Because they fight not for power, but for survival. And survival sharpens the blade." The words sank like a stone in his chest. The Emperor watched the reports, fury on his face. "Impossible, we are eternal," he growled. But his advisors trembled. One dared to whisper, "Eternity ends when belief does, and belief is leaving us." The Emperor turned away, unable to face the truth burning across his empire. In the final moments of the clash, the humans did not chase glory. They pulled back again, leaving wreckage behind. Their message carried on every open channel. "We do not kneel, we do not conquer, we endure, and we rise," the words echoed not just in ears, but in hearts. The galaxy felt the shift. Chains rattled in fear, but also in hope. The Empire had expected silence to mean surrender. But silence had been the gathering of storms. Now the storm had broken, and it would not end here. That night, on a quiet farm on Earth, a boy looked up at the stars and whispered, "Will they come again?" His father nodded. "Yes, but so will we." The boy smiled faintly. "Then they will never win." The stars glittered above, silent but alive, no longer symbols of fear, but of promise. The Empire trembled. The galaxy stirred, and humanity stood tall. The war was not over, but one truth had already been written in fire across the skies. Submission was expected, but resistance had begun, and resistance was stronger than fear.